I've put you clear as the sands of summer, Bryn.
No interference on my side either.
The scry connection's much stronger. In fact, we should be able to use the wisp.
The wisp?
Watcher's wisp. Channel... A little magic into... your earpiece. I'll redirect it to guide you from the scry to the nearest landmark. Follow the wisp to reach your nearest landmark.
More arcs!
And they're clearly happy we're here.
Arcs were supposed to be used for manual labor. Hostility is strange.
Fresh water, in walking distance of the campsite.
I'll set up a purifier for it and collect later.
Point. What a beautiful view. Darters. Sneaky, toxic beasts.
Use your frost. They're vulnerable and can't hide when cold.
Creatures could be hunted for food. Any of these plants look edible?
Dom will put anything in his mouth if he's curious enough. Whatever he doesn't vomit, we'll eat.
Just try not to poison him.
This must be the second loomgate.
What's covering the base?
I'll check it out. A lot of debris on the platform. I could clear it with kinetic magic.
What about the loomgate itself? Is it functional?
No sign of life, but see that cloud of raw magic? It's leaking from the broken pipe near the edge of the platform.
So we have two powerless loomgates and a tangle leaking out of an enclave construction. I wonder if Lane still has that treatise we picked up in Taza.
And he's gone.
With the debris gone, this loomgate doesn't appear to be in poor shape at all. Time to check out the Great Arc.
the spirit of flowing water.
A set of schematics. Tarmakind smithing. Maybe Solar would know.
I was right. It is an ark. A great one.
It isn't moving. I'll get a closer look.
An ark of the stricken earth, I would guess. Any chance you could bring a piece of it back to camp?
Doubt my sword is strong enough.
Then there's not much we can do with this for now. Dom seems to have an idea about the loomgate, at least. 2 enclave constructs, neither of them functional. Good news. Lane found a shortcut back to our camp. I could use the wisp to guide you there if you like.
That should be it. According to my map, it's a man-made tunnel that grants easy access to the way station.
That's the edge of how far I can push the scry. It'd be like in the Veil's shadow all over again. Bryn's back. Let's fill her in.
We believe we found a way to activate the loomgate in our camp and in Glintwood Hollow.
With the loomgates active, we could expand our search of the Enclave. Who knows what we might find?
The potential for discovery is endless.
Agreed. So, how do we repair a loomgate?
What made the Enclave remarkable was not merely their constructs, but their ability to power them. It has long been rumored that beneath our very feet exists an extensive magical network known as the Tapestry. The pipe you found in Glintwood Hollow is proof of its existence. It must be a conduit that directs raw magic to the loomgates as a source of power.
And the tangle that formed around it was a leak.
Precisely. Our theory is that patching the rupture will restore power to the gate.
Thankfully, Seven Lane have a plan for that.
We don't know a lot about arcs, but I dug up some old stories from logs that we inherited from a weaver band that broke apart. In notes dated before the Surge, this band managed to get one of the enchanters who worked on the arcs riotously drunk and talking.
Apparently, the arcs have a thin carapace between their skin and their armor plates that's nigh immune to magic, and can be separated in segments. A magically resistant material like that would be perfect to seal a rupture in the tapestry.
So I need to cleave this carapace off the arc? There's no way my sword is strong enough.
Come see me and we can make some improvements to Sola's forge. Which, in turn, means...
I could hone your sword so we can cleave the carapace, no problem.
We'll talk.
Great foresight in removing the debris from the loomgate's platform. We've got a clear workspace once the patch is forged.
Happy to be one step ahead.
Everyone's got a part to play in this. Let's get to work.
Did you see the size of that mine entrance? Amazing, isn't it?
You mean the one behind that huge deactivated arc?
That's the one. Given the size of the entrance, I can only imagine how huge the mine must have been. Their yields must have been incredible.
I've heard the rich resources are a big part of why weavers first settled this area.
The land's hostile, but they knew it was worth the risk. Ores from the Enclave are high grade, very pure.
Two wonders of enchanting, an arc and loomgates. We can touch them, smell them if we want, and they don't work. Maddening.
Did you?
Did I what?
Smell the loomgate.
A little, but that's beside the point. But mossy, hints of sage, a subtle yet full-bodied undertone of dirt.
Amazing. Well, now we just need to get it working.
Oh yes, should our plan succeed.
And if not?
Then it is time for Plan B, which I have not yet thought up, but I'm sure we won't need. They are quite the thing, aren't they? Tangles, I mean.
After what it was like outside the Enclave, the ones in here are child's play.
It is an enduring mystery as to why the Veil's shadow is flooded with them. I did not expect that they would be so common inside the Enclave.
Are they common anywhere?
No. They were theoretical until the Veil went up. And then, of course, they became... political.
What exactly are tangles?
To our best understanding, magic is more than just energy. As far as we know, raw magic is a physical substance, but normally invisible. Our mantles gather it from the air as we move, but tangles prove it can concentrate on its own.
What did you mean by political?
The surge was specifically catastrophic towards enchanted equipment. Explosions, out-of-control activations, you name it. And tell me, logically, who were the most likely people to have enchanted items on or around them?
The rich and powerful?
Well done. So, in a single moment, you have what seem to be hundreds of assassinations.
And decades of war followed.
As I said, political.
You said they were theoretical. What did you mean?
Lane and I have been digging. The only research on tangles we could find were thought experiments until the Veil's appearance. As you might expect, that research was done here in the Enclave. Apparently, they did not publish everything they knew.
Thanks, Dom. That helps me understand them better.
Ultimately, the most practical advice I can give is very simple. Don't stand in the murder cloud.
I couldn't help overhear Darm mentioning the surge's impact on the politics of our lands.
You really do pay attention to what happens around here, don't you?
A survival instinct. Growing up in Judea, you realise the walls have ears. If some of those ears aren't yours, you're at a disadvantage. That was actually the problem, you see?
The problem?
After the surge cascaded through the Maida, every kind of long-range magical communication broke down. So you have magical chaos and no way to confirm if your nation is under attack. You assume the worst and retaliate. Judea, my homeland, was hit hard. Our trade fleets had become rather dependent on magical navigation.
And they couldn't find their way home.
Or at least to a safe harbour. You could argue the loss of our fleets was worse than any individual war.
Because the trade network suddenly collapsed. My parents used to talk about shortages during those years. It got rough, they said.
Yes. And the worst wars are fought over resources when people are desperate. I very much hope we can find the true cause of all that suffering, and a way out to share it with the rest of the world after we do.
So, how often do I need to return to camp? Do you need me to report back frequently?
That's entirely up to you. Points privilege. You're the one taking the risks, so you can gauge how far and how long you can push. From time to time, I or the folks around the camp might have requests, but we'll defer to your priorities. And if you get into trouble, I'll pull you to safety. Might lose some resources, but that's a small price to pay.
Got it. A lot of responsibility.
Points privilege.
Can I ask how you knew to pack up the camp outside the Veil?
The tangles were shifting. They'd been static the entire time. And then, suddenly, just as an arc deflects a wave of Drake's breath, they start to move. That's no coincidence.
How do you know to run to me, then?
The tangles closed down the path the caravan took in, and it wasn't like I was going to abandon you.
I believe I was promised one epic tale on how you discovered the route into the Veil's shadow.
I suppose I did promise you. Rumours of a safe passage into the shadow had been swirling among weaver circles for the last 5 years. They'd always piqued my interest, but I couldn't get a solid lead on it until 2 years ago. Weavers in a caravan bound for Don Brennig told me they no longer had a point. They'd lost an older Casil fellow who journeyed on the Strand Road before the surge. He insisted on one last big expedition before his retirement into the Veil's shadow. It killed him, but they got pretty close.
So you got the route from that caravan?
Not quite. The point that died was the one who led them in. He had the trade roads memorized. But it was confirmation that getting close to the Veil was possible. I spent the next few months chasing leads. Eventually, I was able to trade an Ash Peak Drake's Tooth for a map of the trade roads with a dubious Ashar woman in Tarza.
A drake's tooth?
Some people believe grinding the tooth of a drake into a powder and consuming it could have stimulating properties.
Ah.
Fools. Regardless, between the map and the other leads, I was able to plan the route that led us to the Veil's shadow a fortnight ago. The final missing piece was an apprentice point to take on the expedition with me.
Glad I could help. Thanks for sharing, Aurea.
What's a good adventure if you can't regale someone with the tale later?
Hey, I know we need to fix up the forge, but before we do, I'd like to talk to you about something.
Sure. What's up?
I owe you an apology.
What for?
I've been a little cold since you've arrived, and I should have been more welcoming. I was just under a lot of stress with everything that happened.
You mean when we ran for our lives from a death cloud into a lost land?
Yeah, that. And losing supplies, and Aurea getting injured, and then having a point takeover who...
Lacks experience.
At the time, that's what it seemed like. But ever since we arrived, you've been more than proving yourself. You made finding food and water a top priority. That's when I realized our Weaver band is in good hands. I underestimated you when I shouldn't have, and frankly, I was a jerk about it.
It's okay, Cass.
No, it's not. I really am sorry. I hope we can have a better relationship moving forward.
Thanks. That means a lot. Let's just start fresh, okay?
I'd love that.
How are you feeling now that we're starting to get settled?
If this is settled, I'd hate to see us scrambling. I have a hard time letting my guard down when there are so many unknowns. We're still missing supplies, and our campsite isn't half what it should be. Can't see myself relaxing and smelling the roses anytime soon.
The role of point seemed really serious to you. Can I ask why that is?
Because it is serious. If you screw up, we all die.
That seems... extreme.
Think of it this way. Let's say we're low on food in the desert. If you scout 3 leagues in the wrong direction, we're all 3 leagues further away from food we need to survive.
Right. I guess I see what you mean. Still sounds like an extenuating circumstance, though.
And being the first to enter the Enclave in almost half a century isn't an extenuating circumstance.
Point taken, I suppose. You know, when talking to Lane, they mentioned that you actually trained to become point yourself. I was wondering if that had something to do with why we weren't getting along.
Oh, no. Being point just wasn't for me. that's all.
So, I know Sola mentioned improvements to her forge meant being able to hone my sword. What does that entail exactly?
Unfortunately, the missing supplies I mentioned.
Is there a way I can help you restock?
Right now, we reserve the materials you bring back for your armors and weapons, because that's the priority. But if there's anything you can spare, I can repurpose them into supplies for our campsite.
Sounds simple enough.
Glad to hear it. Aurea. It's Lane, by the way.
What's that?
They don't like to be called Lane Frey. I heard you saying it to Bryn earlier. That's the name their parents chose. Lane is the name they chose.
Fair enough. Didn't realise. Thank you for letting me know. Lane.
These are a great start. With the supplies we've got already, we could shape up our campsite. We lost a lot of stuff when we were running for our lives, and frankly, our setup is only half of what it should be. But we can rebuild.
What do you have in mind?
Like we discussed, Sola could forge better weapons with improvements to her smithy. Like honing your sword so it can cut through arc armor. Alternatively, Dom could certainly care better for our mantles with new tools for weaving. And to keep you in fighting form, having Lane's alchemical tools in top form is invaluable. There's no end to the improvements we could make around here. And everyone's lives would be safer for it.
What about you?
Me? Oh, I don't need anything.
Come on, there must be something.
I mean, would new shelves be nice? Sure. I also have some ideas for your supply pouches. But don't worry about me. I'm fine. Right now, improving Sola's forge is more important.
Kaz, don't be shy. If it's shelves you want, it's shells you'll get. We'll organize the crap out of this place in no time.
No, I don't need them. I mean, it would be nice, but I'm fine.
Come on, say it with me. I deserve new shelves.
No.
Yeah, I thought that was a stretch too. Don't worry, we'll make some improvements around here.
Thanks, Bryn.
Kaz, what you said about the point roll not being for you. Lane said the training was going well, and then one day, it just stopped. Can I ask why?
Honestly, it was just too much for me. The responsibility that comes with being point. I guess I caved under pressure. Leaping headfirst into danger isn't for everyone. What made you decide to become a point?
The danger.
Of course.
Hey, maybe it's not for you. But growing up in a quiet mining town, I spent my whole life longing for adventure.
And has being point given you what you're looking for?
So far, yeah.
Good. For a long time, I felt like I let Aurea down. She wanted me to continue with the training, but I just couldn't. When she offered to keep me on as a quartermaster, I was surprised. In time, it made sense, though. I always enjoyed the planning of my expeditions, more than the expeditions themselves.
So you've been happier as a quartermaster?
Yes. This is much more my speed. Besides, someone needs to hang it with Arva. Seriously. I'm more than happy to leave the creature wrangling to you.
I'm not sure I have what it takes to pack a caravan anyway.
I've seen how messy your tent is. You most definitely do not. Sola is delighted with the improvements to her forge. She can refine your sword as soon as you'd like. Great work, Bryn.
Turns out we make a pretty good team. This campsite will be top of the line in no time.
Yeah. We're definitely going to need to start directing a water flow to the camp. Maybe even install a fountain in the back. Would help to get a garden going in here too. Fruits, vegetables, medicinal herbs. Oh, that reminds me, we'll need the... What?
Do you ever take a break? You know, to enjoy a job well done?
Sure. Sometimes. Once there are fewer fires to put out, I'll relax. I swear.
Just try to remember, it's not the end of the world if you take a break. Someone will step in to help lighten your load.
It doesn't always feel like the others realise how much needs to get done.
Then tell them. Like how you told me we needed supplies. I stepped in to help, didn't I?
You did. I see your point.
The others will do the same.
Maybe. I'd better get back to work, but... this was nice.
I knew we'd recover. We always do. Still feels nice to have my core tools back this quickly.
Still a long way to go, but we'll get there.
Speaking of, I've something for you. We've been scavenging around the way station and reclaimed a fair amount of useful materials. They're stored away and ready for you. Should be enough to reforge your sword as we discussed.
Can you also reforge armor? Improve my bow?
Sure can. Weapons or armor, we can rework them with different materials as you prefer.
What's the key difference between reforging my gear and just making something new?
If you want gear that does something fundamentally different, make something new. For instance, there are fabrics, metals, leathers, and so on that are highly resistant to heat. A suit of armor made of a combination of those would have been incredible against the Drake you faced in the Veil's shadow. If you don't need something additional, and just want to improve what you already have, that's when you reforge. Keeps the clutter down in the caravan.
What should I expect from a reforged sword?
It depends on the materials we use. Some hold edge better, making your swipes that much more deadly. Others make your gear lighter, or, for something like armor, change the way it handles heat and cold.
Sounds like it's time to make something that can punch through arc armor.
That's the spirit. Use these well. There you go. Not just good as new, better.
Now that I can cut the carapace free, what's next?
Whenever the band is collaborating on a problem, I'm often the one to create the design, and you'll put it together with me. At least normally they're my designs. Sev actually came up with this one. With carapace and enough metal, I can forge his patch for the leaking conduit.
Any particular metal required?
No, just enough of the same type. Seb and I try to keep our designs flexible to work with whatever we've got in the caravan. Once you have everything we need, we'll forge the patch here. Well pleased with the reforge. There's another option too. We can enhance your gear.
Not the same thing?
No. Enhancing uses more of the same materials from the original construction. I use them to add a bit more protection to your armor, reinforce your blades and such. Worth doing if you have extra materials. I'll be able to do more as we build my smithy's set of tools back up.
So look, this plan to repurpose carapace to Color me delighted that we're starting to restore our capabilities around the camp. When the time comes, I'll work with Casmin to create some new tools here.
Then we can start weaving more intricate strands into my mantle, right?
Yes. You harvest, I'll weave, and we'll have you channeling such magics.
A crafter is only as good as their tools, they say.
Glad we're starting to upgrade the camp then.
Very much so. There are alchemical formulas I simply can't create for you without the right alembics and specifically treated crucibles. Once I have those, we'll be set. Many of the plants and minerals I'm after are within safe distance of the camp, so I'll be able to gather them myself.
When we've got supplies to spare, I have ideas for improving your pack. If we do it right, you'll be able to bring more resources back. It's all about load distribution.
And shelves.
God, yes.
Sola seems pretty pleased with the upgrades to her forge. I think she might want to thank you for it. You're coming up on the arc of the stricken earth. With a stronger sword, hopefully the carapace will come off easy.
This might take a while.
You'll need to swing harder to cut through armor that thick.
What's happening?
Retrieving the carapace is going to be trickier than we thought.
Is she really ready to fight that thing?
Catch your breath. When you're ready, you can climb the arc to attack it from different angles. Hit the exposed skin with everything you've got. that patch of skin anymore. Move on.
I was worried we might lose our chance to get the carapace, but you secured it.
Any concerns about using the Archon strand, Dom?
Concerns? None. Excitement? Considerable. We shall be able to weave that strand into your mantle, Bryn.